Welcome to Fighting Over Fiction. I'm Will.
I'm Tash.
I'm Fraz.
And today we're asking, is Travis Bickle a compelling protagonist in Taxi Driver, even though he isn't the typical good guy?
Finish her! What a moral quandary we have for us today. What in fact is good and evil? Is it perception? Is it not perception? How are you both? Are you well?
Oh, thanks. How are
Great.
you?
Good. What have you been watching this week? Let's get straight into it.
I finished Chaos.
Did
It's a
you?
shame that it ended
I know.
the way it did because I was ready for season 2.
I wish that, like, when shows are greenlit for one season, I wish they'd only write one season of it
and end it
and
on
end it,
on a proper ending rather than leaving us hanging.
and then go, oh, a season 2, fine, we can build on this, and but don't expect you're going to get a season 2 because there's a really good chance you're not, because that was a great show.
It was a great show, and then because I was so sad, I decided to start watching The Last Kingdom.
Oh, have you seen that before?
No, never.
And how are you finding Last Kingdom?
Actually, really enjoying it.
Mm.
It's a good one.
I watched 4 seasons of it, and I was bored the whole. I was like, when
bored?
does this become the great show that everyone says it is? It's not Vikings. It's not Game of Thrones. Is
it because it's not Vikings or Game of Thrones?
I think maybe it is. Yeah, I'll be intrigued to see what you think of it, though, Tash. Will, what have you been watching?
I've unfortunately downgraded from soul food to junk food.
Right.
I've just been binge watching The Office US. When I say I've been binge watching, I mean I'm up to like season 4 or 5 already in 1 week, and keep saying, I don't have time to watch proper film, but somehow I've found time to watch all of that.
I don't think The Office US is trash food. I think that is soul food.
Okay, nice, good.
I love The Office US. Yeah, I think any of those like big American sitcoms like Modern Family, Arrested Development, all those, I think you can just sit and watch hours of them.
There's just such a dopamine payoff in that one scene as well, where Jim comes back and he's like, "Oh, it's a date then," and then just the look on Pam's face. I'm like, that's just worth however many hours I've just invested in this.
For sure. I have watched Something Very Bad Is Going to Happen, the new Duffer's Brother.
What is going to happen?
Is it bad?
It is very, very, very bad. Yeah.
Oh, spoilers!
I'm almost certain that the Duffer's Brothers had a vision of the final scene, had the name of the show, and went, "Let's write backwards."
Love that.
And you know what? It is really good. I wish it wasn't the genre of horror that it is. Like, there's a really good story there, like family dynamics and stuff. And then it just dollops in like goblins and ghosts and ghouls, just for no reason. It just doesn't need to be there. But hey, that's horror, baby.
So here's a little bit about Taxi Driver. It was directed by Martin Scorsese and written by Paul Schrader. The film is considered one of the defining works of the 1970s American cinema. Robert De Niro prepared for the role by actually working as a taxi driver in New York to better understand Travis Bickle as well. I've been trying not to say pickle this whole time. I knew this would happen. The famous line, "You talking to me," was largely improvised by De Niro and became one of the most iconic quotes in film history. The film won the top prize at the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival in 1976. Come on, Tash, how do we say that?
Palme d'Or.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so they're right. Brilliant. Its violent climax was controversial, and the filmmakers had to desaturate the blood in the final scene to avoid stricter censorship.
So they avoided an R rating by desaturizing the blood.
Avoided an X rating.
Was it? I thought it was an R rating.
There's going to be an X rating, yeah.
Oh. They didn't like blood in America. That was a big thing. Was blood and people dying.
I think it was the shift from black and white to colour.
Yeah.
Which really did it for them. They went, oh, good. It's which is why the whole space opera thing was big in the 70s, because no blood in space because of lasers and stuff. Yeah. This was Scorsese's first film, pretty much. Did you know that?
No.
And it was meant to be made before The Godfather, or Godfather Part 2, that De Niro won the Oscar for. So De Niro was offered $35,000 to do Taxi Driver by Scorsese. Then De Niro went off and won an Oscar and came back, and they were like, hello, Robert. And De Niro's like, no, we had an agreement. You're still just paying me the $35,000 to do this movie, which I think is...
Gentleman's agreement right there.
Yeah, and Jodie Foster as well, who was actually 12 during the film. She speaks really highly of the experience, which I was worried about. It seemed to be, despite the subject matter, it seemed to be quite a pleasant working environment for everyone involved.
Oh, so it should have been.
So what did you guys think of the film? This is regarded as one of the greats. It's in many top 10 lists. It's the GOAT category of this season of Fighting Over Fiction. Tash, tell me.
See, I'm struggling with this film. I found it so interesting from a character perspective. Like, so interesting. I was trying to kind of properly dissect Travis's character. I found it so interesting how he develops. Did I like it? No.
It's a really fine line, isn't it, between liking and enjoying and appreciating for sure. See, I think I liked it more than you. I thought this was a really wonderful character study. I loved the way it was filmed. The music was janky as hell.
It was pure 70s music, and I love 70s music and 70s aesthetic, so I did appreciate that very, very much.
Yeah, it was... I'll talk about the music a bit later. The only thing I didn't like about it, I didn't like that final scene. I thought that really took me out of it, just because it's so dated. I realized at the time it was like some groundbreaking makeup effects. But I genuinely didn't know where this film was going at any point. I started the movie and I was like, right, I've got no idea what I'm watching. All I know is that Robert De Niro is a taxi driver, which is a really big clue. And that at some point he says, "Are you talking to me?" in the mirror. I didn't know the context of it, but I really enjoyed not only watching where his character went, but then finding out what everyone thought about where his character went, because I watched apparently a different film that everyone else in the world saw.
That's exciting though, and that's why we're here.
Will, you're with me, right? Loved it.
Trash.
Trash.
It's really sorry. Do you know what? I'm actually not sorry. Just trash. Do you know what? If you like it, I'm really pleased for you. It's just obviously not my film, you know?
So, would you say it was well acted?
For the most part, yeah.
Would you say it was well shot?
For the most part.
Would you say it was well scored?
No.
Okay, you didn't like the music.
The few things I did enjoy with it were where the cliches have come from. Like in the opening scenes, it was like raindrops on a car windscreen type thing. I was like, that's brilliant. I know where this has come from now. Just didn't find it interesting. I just didn't find it funny. Didn't find it engaging. Didn't really get where it was going. I
don't think I've ever seen you like fidget as much as you did in that film. You kept getting up, going to get a drink, coming back, wiping something off the table. Like,
is it maybe because this film just held up a mirror to you, Will, and you saw too much of yourself?
Do you know what? Ironically, you say that. There's a lot of reviews that are like, oh, it's such a good insight into like mental illness, and you're like, maybe it's just lost. I mean, we're all neurospicy here, so it's kind of like maybe it's just lost on me, and for that exact reason, you know.
It's interesting you mentioned the raindrops thing. So they were, while they're filming this, they just come out of a massive heat wave in New York. So the whole kids playing with the fire hydrant thing, that was just there. That was just something they had to deal with. And then they had like monsoon season in New York. So they were massively constrained by what the weather was doing and also what the children were doing in the streets. But that gave it this wonderful like double glow, you know, where the neons of New York like shining off the pavements. That's what I really liked about this film is seeing this really kind of authentic look of almost like a mythical version of New York that we forget existed. This dirty, seedy, like, you know, it was gross, but I really enjoyed it.
Can we sympathise with Travis in any way?
Tash, tell me.
I think sympathise is the wrong word here.
You wrote the question.
I did write the question. That's fine. I am challenging my own question. I think it encourages more understanding than sympathy. So we see his isolation, his insomnia, how disconnected he is from society, which helps kind of explain his behaviour in a way, but I don't think it excuses it.
Can I stop you there and ask you what you mean by his behaviour? Because I think there are different levels to his behaviour.
His kind of violent actions, I would say.
Sure.
And his in the beginning, his pursuit of it's Betsy, isn't it?
So that's what I mean. Those are the two different levels of
yeah,
behaviour.
it's the two.
There's the shooting and the killing.
Yeah.
And then there's the kind of like the creeping and the taking the first date to the porno.
Yeah.
Those two different behaviours, I think, need to be kind of analysed in two different ways. So, do you think his disconnection with society explains his violent behaviour or his creepy behaviour, or both?
I think it does explain. So, in the first instance, it explains the creepiness. But then over time, as the creepiness, because again, Betsy kind of does reject him in the end, and he doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
With that, and then it extends to him with the political story, because obviously she's linked to the candidate.
Sure.
So it then moves into the violence, and then him going to kill the candidate. That doesn't work. So then it moves into, I'm going to go and kill the paedophiles and the pimps.
So I was going to ask you this as well, actually, about, because I didn't really understand why the political thread was there. But do you think like Betsy rejects him, and rather than pursue Betsy any further, his kind of like his energy is redirected towards the person?
Yeah, and I think it's redirected towards, he talks a lot about New York being a hell, and he talks about hell a lot, and how people are in their own hell. So he's trying to kind of release people from hell, and the way he sees himself doing that is through the violence.
Sure.
And it does become quite political there, because again, if this is 1976, this was made, he's a Vietnam veteran.
Yeah.
And the Vietnam War was just... It
was bad.
Really bad. And the amount of soldiers that came out with psychological problems and mental health issues, you can see how that would influence that, and how politics became even more important after that kind of devastating event. And then you also had Watergate in 1972. So you've had a lot of political scandal in the recent years. So again, the kind of political thread comes into it through that, I feel.
Thank you. That makes perfect sense as well.
Yeah.
Like explaining the behaviour rather than excusing it. Sorry, I massively interrupted you.
No, you're fine.
I sorry, I'm going to interrupt it a third time. I kind of assumed the assassination attempt towards Palantine was because it was the only other male figure that Betsy spoke highly of throughout her whole time with him, and then that's why he was then lashing out at him rather than anyone else. It's because he thought the guy that she worked with was, I can't remember, like a loser or something, like he calls it. Whereas Palantine was like this big, massive figure. He was praised by people. Betsy seemed to kind of almost love him in a way, but obviously not love him, maybe in like a kind of a father figure type way. And then that's why he was lashing out on that assassination attempt.
So more of a jealous threat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found it strange because they seem to have quite a good relationship in the cab when Travis is talking to Palantine.
Yeah.
That's while she was with Betsy. Yeah, that's when he was seeing her at that time, though, and kind of got on that date.
Of course,
it was in between those 2 points. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
It's definitely. This is why I said at the beginning, I did find this movie very interesting, and perhaps I'm not meant to like it. Perhaps it's meant to make me feel extremely uncomfortable, because it definitely gives incel.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Especially in that first part, and I think, as I've written here, actually, how he acts upon his loneliness and isolation does make us feel uncomfortable. And I feel like watching this so many years later does give us a different perspective. So I would be curious to know what the reception to this was when it was first released. I mean, it made a crazy profit.
Yeah. I think that is the interesting thing about watching these old movies. Like in 2026, this character, it should be so far removed from reality that it's impossible to sympathise or empathise with him. But the fact is that with like incel culture the way it is now, Travis is like the original archetype for them. And I don't know, maybe this colours our view, but I don't think he was written to be an incel character. Yeah. And this is where I find my opinion on him different from a lot of other people. I give you Batman. Like this is the vibe that I got from Travis Bickle.
Okay.
Like Batman is lonely, you know, he's clearly got some psychological issues, and he is a violent vigilante, much the same as what Travis did. The scene where Travis buys the guns off of the guy, I think if he was buying guns and also like a black leather suit with a mask and pointy bat ears with a a beautiful John Williams score behind it. I think we're seeing the rise of an anti-hero, not like an incel archetype. That being said, Batman never took Lois Lane to the porno, and I realised Batman didn't ever date Lois Lane, but you get my meaning.
Yeah.
You're doing so well up to that point.
So it's weird because I'm excusing his violence, but not his creepiness.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean with that. I think it's interesting, isn't it? How, again, I think it does really highlight what they've got inside them, good and bad, and the different sides of people.
This is why it's a great character
and what we
study,
excuse and what
we
don't excuse. Yeah,
it's where you draw your line. This is what a fascinating thing I find about Peter, is where they draw their line. Like, I will watch a person murder 4 people, outside of the confines of law, and go, yeah, but the way he grabbed Betsy's arm.
Yeah,
I'm like, whoa, dude.
True, yeah.
Whereas in the 70s, that was a completely acceptable thing to do.
The attitudes in the 70s were very, very different. So again, would that have been creepy in the 70s? Would you have watched this in the cinema in 1976 and gone, oh, nah? Or would you have gone, okay, yeah.
Watching porn in the cinema was a
normal,
very normal thing
very
to do
normal
back
thing
then.
to do.
Yeah, Will?
So I'm gonna answer your question with a question. Do you think you're sympathising with Travis then, or do you think you're just understanding him?
I think I am sympathising with him. I 100% think I am, but I think I'm desperately reaching to justify that understanding, because I think deep down in my soul, I know that he's a bad person, but
yeah,
I like I say, I couldn't help but see this superhero origin story building from it. If there was a Taxi Driver 2 where he's cleaning up New York by killing one paedophile after another, we're talking about one of like cinema's greatest heroes, aren't we?
So is Travis really a hero, or does his violence feel justified when it shouldn't?
So yeah, like, just like I was saying, I seem to be on an island here, but if we boil it down, Travis kills a group of paedophile child traffickers and returns a child sex slave home. How is he not a hero? I don't understand why that's not a good thing. Like, I realise the point is to question the means to which the ends are achieved, but when that kind of villain meets that kind of justice, I will always cheer. We seem much quicker to justify violence when the perpetrator is like wearing colourful spandex and dropping one-liners. Like the amount of death caused by the heroes in the Marvel universe, and there's some really interesting TV shows in the Marvel universe that explore that idea, and I think those are much more interesting stories. But I really do think we colour over the collateral damage caused by superheroes, and yet because we are really focusing on Travis, we're calling it a crime, which of course it is, but no, I'm high-fiving the man who kills the paedophiles. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the film does intentionally blur the line between it being justified and not justified. Again, could you define his kind of creepiness and the way he grabs Betsy as some sort of violence because of just how intense that is?
Oh, 100%. I think this is what I was worrying about as when we started the movie, is that we were then going to watch this character become he's already kind of a pseudo stalker as it is, but go full stalker and go full creep, and maybe then become violent and abusive towards Betsy.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. Betsy turns him down. He phones her a couple of times and then he leaves it. He doesn't pursue her anymore. And that's not incel culture, is it?
No.
It's almost like they put this creepiness into his character to make us dislike him, and then have him kill the paedophiles to make us like him again, and then question, like you say, to blur that line and to question where the justification comes. But I just think the scales are so incredibly imbalanced. Like, maybe he learned from his actions with Betsy, but then still had all this rage inside him that he had to channel somewhere.
I think for me, what frustrated me the most was how he is celebrated as some sort of hero. I do kind of think, again, it's similar to what you were saying about the Marvel movies, in the sense that the framing of that is very much, we haven't questioned, how did he get a gun? Is he meant to have a gun? Why was he there? There was no, it was all just, he's a hero without question. And it kind of, I think it's a critique on how society tends to reward action without considering morality. And we're meant to, I think we are meant to question the hero side of it.
I think it's a really interesting look at how we do question heroism, because and do you know what? I think it does hold a mirror up against us, because when you hear stories about paedophiles being murdered in prison, I've never met anyone who has gone, oh, that's terrible. Yeah. They should have their sentence extended. We all kind of roll our eyes and quietly cheer. And I think there is this like innate like primal thing in all of us that wants to protect children, and it is difficult to watch, and it is difficult to kind of articulate without coming across like an incel apologist.
So did he kind of leave Betsy alone after just a few calls and then turning up at the election place, what I'm going to call it, because he then did go after the election official just because of Betsy in the end, out of his frustration? I feel like overall, especially in film, you want to see characters as black and white. So they're either in the good category or they're in the bad category. It's quite hard for us to then differentiate between this weird middle ground. I think that does his violence feel justified? I don't think so at all. I think that sorry, you can no.
I think that is the really interesting question, and we've spoken about Marvel, and I think the way that we justify the Marvel characters creating collateral damage is they are fighting a greater evil. Like, the scales are very, very clearly balanced, and it's like, yes, they may have like knocked down a building accidentally, but they are stopping, a killer god decimating 50% of the entire universe. And we go, okay, that's fair enough. And I think they've kind of done the same thing here, where of the characters in this film, Travis Bickle is quite clearly one of the better ones, because the other ones are, Harry Keitel's character, the pimp, is awful. Like, the things he's saying that he can do to Iris is so obviously like puppy kicking. It's like villain, bad guy. So I think when you talk about black and white, Scorsese and Paul Schrader. I always get Paul Schrader and Bill Hader confused. I also listened to a podcast with Bill Hader talking about Paul Schrader, which just completely messed me up.
As hell.
I think the way that it's written really makes us want to root for Paul Bickle, because he is quite clearly the better person in that scale of balance. It's only when you bring up Betsy do we start to question his real morality. And okay, so he didn't let it go, did he?
He didn't.
In fact, it escalated quite a lot to assassination.
Well, and again, your point there, agreeing with your point, is that she turns up in the taxi at the end. So she's still there. Because you were doubting whether she was actually there or whether it was a figment of his imagination, and I could kind of see that you don't quite know. But like, even if she is still there because she was in his taxi, or she is still there because she's still in his head.
All right, well, let's talk about that then, seeing as we're there, because there is a lot of debate over whether or not that scene is real or whether it is dreamed. So when she's in the taxi, it is very, very ethereal. It's very dreamscapey, and I was like, why is there debate about this? This is clearly in his head. But then she gets out of the taxi, and speaks to him through the window. And that's, I don't think, as a director, I don't think you're doing that if you want it to remain ambiguous.
Yes.
You're very much saying
she's there, yeah.
And then following up with the newspaper clippings on the wall of him being regarded as a hero, and the letter from Iris's parents. I think we are being told that this all did genuinely happen. Yeah. This is not a figment of his imagination. This is, in Paul Bickle's own eyes, I suppose, a redemption.
It's interesting because that scene feels so much like I don't know a polite way to pull it. I'm not going to use the actual words in my head. It kind of just seems like a self-gratification for him almost, and it or the director. I just found it so odd, that last scene, like really odd. Like, you're basically saying, oh, it's okay, you go out and do this, and then that's totally fine because you'll get the girl and everything, and all your problems will go away. I think I feel like the whole violence of Travis Bickle, I'm going to keep on to say Pickle, oh my god, it almost feels like he's just a rolling boulder, and he is going to cause death and destruction at some point. and he goes from point to point of subject to subject of trying to exercise that violence on different people and different groups. And that's why we saw it almost against Betsy, and then against the election office, and then against the official, and then against that person robbing the shop, and then finally against the child paedophiles at the end. And you go, right, that obviously was, dare I say it, justified at the end. But then, is he then just got a taste for it, and then it kind of carries on? Do you then go, he was going to kill someone and commit violence at some point, so then you're congratulating him for doing it just against the right people, or he's just a violent person that's just going to go on to become a mass murderer in a way?
I think it's exactly that. I think it is. There is violence in him, and I think there's a shot of De Niro doing the push-ups, and he's got this wicked scar across his back. And I think that kind of shot is very much like this guy has seen some stuff. And I think you're right. I think there is violence in him. And I think that's where I sympathise with him, because he at least tries to put that energy and that violence into something pseudo positive. You know, he kills the person who's robbing his friend. Is it okay to murder someone for committing burglary? No. But how many times has that person burgled? How many people has that person killed? Yeah. Is there any justice for these people? Because the police in 1970s New York are famously not a good organization either. And, you know, the shopkeeper wasn't shocked. He said, no, Travis, run away. And then he starts beating up the dead person with the crowbar. And I think that's the story we're being told. I think we're being told the story of a violent person who's finding a positive way to channel where there is nowhere else to put it. A la Batman.
So why are we still engaged with Travis, even though we don't like him?
I think in a way we have no choice. Well, we have no choice with this guy.
That's not how art works, Will. Yeah.
Well, it was my question again, as you've clearly pointed out.
I think you're just running to argue with me.
Well, Travis is the centre of our perspective, right? Throughout the whole film, we see everything through his eyes. His subjective view of New York really draws us in. He talks a lot about it being like hell, and wanting to pull New York out of the hell that it's in, specifically when he's talking to the politician and when he meets Iris and all of that kind of thing. Even when his actions are disturbing, we can feel the tension of living inside his perception, which I think is really compelling in itself. Even if it's really uneasy, it makes me feel extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah, the shots they use as well really put us there. Like, there are certain shots that linger, like when he puts the Alka-Seltzer in the drink, and when he's viewing some of like the pimps in the cafe. It really puts you in Travis's shoes, and it makes you feel like you are really there. Like, I find Scorsese really puts New York in your living room with this film.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And I think I really liked the way that they framed it with the cinematography, with his isolation. There's one scene where he's talking on the phone, and then the camera moves away from him and focuses in on the street. And you can hear him still talking, but you're focusing on New York as a street, and it just shows how detached he is from everything going on. And then that's where you do kind of understand that, oh yeah, he's literally in his own world.
Yeah,
and
I think New York is the villain of this film.
Yeah.
So they couldn't afford expensive lighting for this film as well, so they had to essentially use the light of New York, and I think that massively worked in their favour. And it does exactly what you said. It puts you behind Travis's eyes, and you're right, you have no choice but to engage with him, because you're in it, you're in the driver's seat.
You're there the whole time. And I know that they did use a little bit of voiceover in this, which I think did work, because it was limited. It didn't explain every single scene, every single turning point. It wasn't explicitly explained, and you did have to work to understand.
There were more observations, weren't they?
Yes.
And I think the broken way in which it is read makes you sympathise even more with him, because he's clearly not a well-educated person either.
Yeah.
He's got a child's handwriting and a child's cadence to the way he writes.
Yeah.
There's also one scene where he fucks up like a couple of times. Did you notice this? In the voiceover, that was De Niro fucking up. And Scorsese was like, nope, that's staying in.
Perfect,
and his editors were like, get rid of it. And Scorsese was like, no. That is staying in.
It works for the character, which I think, again, it shows how, works with the imperfection of him. Because again, he's not a shiny superhero, as we've learnt very quickly from here. Unfortunately, he's not. No, I did find him, in the way I was engaging with him, I found it really interesting. So I felt like all of his acts of violence were kind of acts of violence against himself as well. So when he obviously was pursuing Betsy, and that's obviously very gross, but he then goes to kill the paedophiles, and it's like there's that kind of parallel of him pursuing a woman and taking her to a porno, and then acting against that and going, well, like, I don't like that about myself, so I'm going to go and do this.
There is
so it was like his own personal hell was being
there is a lot of self-loathing in this film, which is
yeah.
another like incel thing. You could also argue that the taking Betsy to the porno was like self-sabotage as well. Like maybe he was finally actually like getting some kind of happiness and joy in his life, so he decided to upend it. Maybe Palantine really was going to clean up the streets, as he said, so that's why he went to kill him, because he wants to remain in hell. It's and I think this is why Will, my friend, that this film isn't trash, because I found myself, like, since watching it, I watched it with Jen, and we've been talking about it ever since. And it may not have been comfortable, it may not have even been enjoyable, but it certainly did elicit response and emotions, and that's what I look for
in film.
From film is something that like pokes my brain and goes, are you sure about that? I'm going to be thinking about this film for months, and I imagine I'm going to call you guys up at one point and go, I've decided how I feel about Travis.
What does Travis tell us about Paul Schrader as a screenwriter?
So he actually wrote this when he was destitute.
Oh, that makes sense.
And in a really crappy situation. So a lot of his experiences and the demons he faced are reflected in Travis, which is really interesting. It is a clear example of write what you know.
Yeah, I suppose if you're going to expel demons, like a lot of like musicians do it through songs, and I suppose putting all of your worst characteristics and worst thoughts, like there's that scene where Travis is saying, I've got bad thoughts, I've got bad thoughts. I can imagine that's coming straight out of Schrader's head. How old was Paul Schrader in the 70s? What was he, like 30?
Yeah, 30. He was born in 46, so yeah, he would have been 30.
Okay, so yeah, Travis is clearly a character that Schrader had inside him that he didn't want coming out in any other way.
And it's interesting because Travis is 26 in the film, because he says when he goes to apply for the taxi job.
Well, he says he's 26.
He says he's 26, yeah.
That was so that was the first. I really enjoyed that scene, by the way.
That was a good scene, yeah.
That was the first time that I kind of went, are you 26? Are you in fact who you say really? You are? Because knowing nothing about the film, that really like stuck out to me for some reason. But maybe he was 26. Paul Schrader, I've just looked at his like filmography, and I haven't seen a great deal of his films. Are you a fan of his work? Or him as a person?
Well, his stance on screenwriting is interesting.
Right.
And again, a lot of people agree with him, and a lot of people disagree with him. So his stance is that screenplays are a blueprint that can't exist on their own.
Right.
So the art comes from the film itself. So when other people get involved, when you have a director, producer, cinematographer, cast, crew, and you've got all of them involved, that's when it becomes a piece of art. He doesn't necessarily believe that screenplays can exist on their own and be a piece of art.
And I assume you say that screenplays can be.
I think they can be.
Okay.
Absolutely. You can read a screenplay and feel all the feels and dive into the characters without necessarily seeing it. It's the way it's written is what's key. That's
really, really interesting. So I'd never really considered that. I've never read a screenplay. Now, you know Shakespeare. Have you heard of William Shakespeare?
Who?
I believe his name was.
No idea.
He was a screenwriter. Obviously, no, he was a playwright.
He was a playwright.
Is a playwright and a screenwriter the same? Like, sorry, what I'm going to ask you is, when I read Shakespeare in school, it had like stage directions and stuff like that. So is that the same thing as like a screenplay?
Similar, yeah. The way you'd write them is slightly different in terms of what you're looking for. And plays rely a lot more on dialogue, because you don't have, again, if you're sitting really far away in a theatre, you're not going to see the nuances of facial expressions, and you'll get the body language, big body language, but you're not going to get the nuances of facial expressions and all of that. So it does rely more on dialogue, whereas screenplays are very much you're focusing on the visuals.
Okay. Oh, okay. And that's written in the screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
So you read that. If you were reading a screenplay, you would read all that and you kind of like visualize it in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you. I'd say that's
I think
certainly
both
a
can
work
be
of
true
art.
because you can have screenplays that are really badly written, but they translate really well onto screen.
Yeah, I mean,
Both can be true.
You've read things that I've written that are meant for stage and for screen, and they don't translate very well, I don't think, because I don't know how to articulate the vision I have. Do you know what I mean? So I write the dialogue, and then when we go up on stage, I'm like, and this is how it should look.
This is how it should look. Yeah,
but that in itself, I don't think is a work of art because it's not explained well enough. But I think maybe Paul Schrader just is a bit of he doesn't think his screenplays are very good.
Potentially. And again, I think it's an interesting perspective to come from because again, he's technically the old guard of filmmakers and screenwriters along with Scorsese. I mean, you've got all of these well-known directors now who started at that time where there was less people screenwriting, there were less people filmmaking, whereas if you try and break in now where a personal experience is bloody hard.
Yeah.
And
it's quite a big industry film now, isn't it?
Huge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm with you, Tash. I consider you an artist.
Oh, thanks.
So, is Travis Bickle a compelling protagonist and Taxi Driver, even though he isn't the typical good guy?
In classic fighting over fiction style, I'm not going to answer the question. Travis Bickle is a compelling protagonist and is a typical good guy because of what Marvel has done to what we consider a typical good guy. Tash?
I am going to answer it with a simple yes.
I've had to Google the word compelling just to really really make sure. It says evoking interest, attention, or admiration in a powerfully irresistible way.
Irresistible.
We know what compelling means, and so do all of our very intelligent listeners will.
So, did you find Travis Bickle irresistible?
I mean, Robert De Niro, like, he was hot. Come on, let's just put that out on the table right here.
I wasn't keen on the haircut.
Which one?
The one at the end.
The mohawk.
The mohawk.
That was prosthetic hair.
No.
Yes.
Was it?
So I said about the groundbreaking effects for the wounds.
Yeah.
Same guy. His name is something Smith. Dick Smith. His name is. So he sculpted that wig for
that is
De Niro's wear.
pretty
Incredible.
great.
Sorry, Will. Continue.
No.
Not compelling.
Great.
Not irresistible.
Robert De Niro hot though, but otherwise no.
Yeah. So we've I think this is the most we've fought over fiction in our whole run, apart from maybe Shawshank. But that was less of a fight and more of a just pounding. What are you guys watching this week? I am watching Shrinking season 3 on Apple TV. Shrinking, I think, is one of the best shows ever made. I really, really do.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've watched a little bit of season 1.
It is absolutely a stunning TV show. Tash?
I'm waiting for The Boys. The final season of The Boys is out this week.
Of course,
so
on the same day as Testaments.
Yes.
Which is going to be an interesting week of TV. Will, what are you watching, mate?
There's so much good TV and film out at the moment. I'm just desperate to try and pick something up and move along from this soul food. It's going to either hopefully be Rooster, that's obviously coming out on Apple at the moment, or Shrinking.
It should be Shrinking.
Or I do want to finish F1. I still want to finish F1.
How far have you gotten into F1?
We're in the diner. We just come out the diner in the beginning.
Okay, right.
Really, yeah, beginning.
Okay.
Well, you're just waiting for the Sheep Detective movie.
Oh, God. I need to do a separate podcast on the Sheep Detective. This looks like the best movie of the decade. Oh, my God.
We will go and watch The Sheep Detective, and we'll
do this together.
Do an episode on it. All right, see you later, guys.
Bye.